hope you enjoy your last moments alive on this earth. You did nothing worthwhile with your life.
Shame on you. You have given all women a bad name. You're just a piece of shit.
An ancient, almost barbaric punishment has returned out there in the vast, crowded emptiness of the virtual world.
We are doing to people the thing that we are most terrified would be done to us.
The punishment is shame. Nowadays, it arrives unannounced, and when it does, you will find out what it means to be alone and vulnerable.
Fuck that bitch. Make her pay, make her obey.
I wish that whoever rapes you gets a point of view video of it.
Centuries ago, people were shamed in pillories. That's where the verb came from. The sinner was singled out, helpless, and the public was invited to shame and judge. Well, the new pillories are Facebook and Twitter. And while the new virtual mob is every bit as self-righteous as the Puritans were, it effectively exercises unrestrained power. It can and it will destroy you.
I hope I can find Adria, kidnap her, put a torture bag over her head, and shoot a .22 subsonic round right into her fucking skull.
2 years ago, Adria Richards did something that turned the shaming mob loose. Her life hasn't been the same since.
Did I ever think I would be targeted on the internet at a massive scale like this? That it would become international news? No, I didn't.
Richards is a tech developer. She was at a conference in California. Behind her, 2 men were making dirty jokes. So, she took this picture of them, and then she uploaded it onto Twitter. "Not cool," she wrote. "Jokes about forking repos in a sexual way and big dongles right behind me." Richards says the men's conversation victimized her, that she was calling them out on Twitter.
That day I thought, I am an accomplished professional woman in her 30s, working in tech, and what am I trying to do? Watch a conference. I had had enough. You know, I would still do it again because there was nothing wrong with what I did. I mean, and let's think of all the countless people who have been the victims of crime or harassment and have decided not to say anything.
What happened next happened quickly. The conference organizers saw Richards' tweet and spoke with her. The men were taken aside and warned. "Thank you, Adria Richards, for bringing the inappropriate comments to our attention," tweeted the organizers later. "We've dealt with the situation." "Thank you," tweeted Richards. "I did it for future generations." She followed up with a long post on her personal blog explaining that on behalf of young women, she decided to act to make the conference a safe place. "Yesterday, the future of programming was on the line," she concluded, "and I made myself heard."
If it weren't directly behind you, would it have been okay? Was it
The guy with the beard looks suspect.
Ask them to stop?
Stand your ground,
What's the
girl.
big deal? Was it a mean-spirited comment directed at you?
The Twitterverse, as it's called, began to heat up immediately. Some people shamed the men, some defended them. Then, this anonymous posting appeared.
Hi, I'm the guy who made a comment about big dongles. First of all, I'd like to say I'm sorry. I really do regret the comment and how it made Adria feel. As a result of the pictures she took, I was let go from my job today, which sucks because I have 3 kids.
And then, suddenly, the mob turned. It had a new target, Adria Richards.
The story that gained traction was I was an angry woman, I was an angry black woman, troublemaker, someone who's vindictive, someone with bad intent. Basically the complete opposite of who I am. I never intended for him to be fired or lose his job, and I wrote that as well.
But the mob doesn't care what its targets might have intended. The attacks on Richards grew ferocious.
What kind of bizarre racial mix made that?
Good job
piece?
at being a picture book
I wish
feminist
Adria
bitch.
Richards fucking dies.
Don't apologize to this publicity whore.
Maybe I can invent a device that rapes women over
Would you
the
bang
internet.
Adria Richards? She doesn't like jokes, I hear.
The mob even attacked her employer, SendGrid, which released this statement about Richards' actions.
Her decision to tweet the comments and photographs of the people who made the comments crossed the line. Publicly shaming the offenders and bystanders was not appropriate. In the end, the consequences put our business in danger.
And with that, Adria Richards was unemployed too. But the mob didn't let up. She effectively went into hiding, changed apartments.
It changed huge aspects of how I live my life. I mean, for example, now I have a security system in my house. I use Dropcam to remotely monitor my apartment. Less than 4 people know where I live. Sometimes when I get off the bus or the transit, I get off at different stops and I wait to make sure no one's following me. So it's not, I mean, I'm gonna have to wait till
That was all 2 years ago. Richards is still trying to repair her reputation.
I guess it's kind of like an act of aggression. And it snakes its way into the skin. It snakes its way into you. It's like, oh my God.
Shaming has become so popular, such an it topic nowadays, that 4 books are currently out on the subject.
Please join me in welcoming John Ronson.
John Ronson is promoting his, titled simply, So You've Been Publicly Shamed.
Well, I mean, shame is really powerful. I mean, it really, really works. I mean, just ask anybody who has been shamed just how, profoundly agonizing it is.
Tonight in Boston, he introduces Lindsay Stone to his audience.
Hi, Lindsay. So I'm just getting something ready. Okay.
Lindsay is feeling better nowadays.
People are reaching out to tell me that they feel sorry for me and that they can see that I'm not necessarily a terrible person. And
yeah.
Maybe.
She's finding out that the mob actually likes to forgive, but only after it destroys, which is what it did to her thoroughly after she visited America's National Cemetery in 2012 and decided to make a foolish statement about authority. Nothing happened for a few weeks. Then the mob noticed the picture on Facebook, and the internet exploded.
Lindsay Stone hates the military and hates soldiers who have died in foreign
Unbelievable.
wars.
She needs to be fired.
You should rot.
Our troops deserve better.
Send the dumb feminists to prison.
Just pure evil.
She'd insulted fallen soldiers. She'd wounded the American soul. She was terrified. She retreated into obsession with what was happening to her.
Because there was just, any terrible thing you could ever want or not want to hear about yourself, people were saying about me. People that I knew, tens of thousands, hundreds of people that I didn't know. And I was up all night just reading and reading and reading.
A new Facebook page titled Fire Lindsay Stone appeared, and it was swamped with likes. And of course, it worked. She was fired almost immediately.
Oh, I was appalled. It's not at all.
Lindsay's father stepped up and tried to speak on her behalf, which is a perfectly normal reaction, says Ronson, and quite common.
I think what you want to do, because we're social creatures and we like to communicate, is to say, oh my God, either, oh, I'm so sorry, or...
Let me explain.
Let me explain. So all you can do, if this happens to you, like the wise thing to do is to just shut the hell up. Just say nothing, maybe for like a year. Which is so counterintuitive because we want to communicate, because that's what humans do. But because of the surveillance society we've kind of created for ourselves on social media, you have to be bland or silent. That's the way to survive. And what a terrible thing that is.
From our studios in New York City.
Some targets have good reason to be ashamed, like Jonah Lehrer, the super successful author and journalist who was caught embellishing Bob Dylan quotes in a book.
Other people. He describes his creative process one of love and theft. You fall in love with
Once exposed, he was slowly dismantled. His books were withdrawn from circulation and pulped. He lost his glamorous magazine job.
What I'd like to talk about today is how I'm attempting to confront my mistakes in the future.
Eventually, Lehrer wound up recanting to a media conference in front of a giant screen that ran mocking tweets in real time, even as he stumbled through his apology and his explanation. Then there's the more ambiguous sin of Justine Sacco, who tweeted a clumsy attempt at mocking her own white privilege before boarding a flight for South Africa. "Hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding, I'm white." As she slept in flight, that tweet began trending worldwide.
And then her company tweeted, IAC, "Employee in question currently unreachable on an international flight." And that's when the anger really turned to excitement, because suddenly everybody realised, oh my God, there's an incredible narrative arc going on here. This woman is unaware of her destruction.
By the time Sacco landed, her life had been shredded, as Twitter watched in glee.
And he said,
"It's a vicious game, but Ronson says people who participate in shaming don't see themselves as vicious."
We see ourselves as basically being good people, trying to right wrongs, trying to attack those who misuse privilege.
This is your snowflake and avalanche theory.
Yeah, a snowflake doesn't need to feel responsible for an avalanche. So
what do you mean by that?
It means none of us have to feel responsible for the destruction of people when hundreds of thousands of people are doing it all at once. You know,
no single one of us.
Yeah, no single one of us. We let ourselves off the hook.
My mission is straightforward. I always beat the odds. I always make the impossible happen. But not this time.
But in the darkest room of internet shaming are people whose intentions are simply criminal. Brianna Wu knows those people very well.
This is a tough one. This was sent to me. "I hope you enjoy your last moments alive on this earth. You did nothing worthwhile with your life." Ooh.
Wu is literally a woman in a man's game. A designer in the world of fantasy video games where violent males shoot and hack and kill, and women are usually impossibly busty damsels in distress. Evidently, a lot of male gamers want it to stay that way.
I wrote a piece critiquing that, and the rape threats started to roll in. The death threats started to roll in.
At one point, says Wu, a man wrote her that he was actually on his way to kill her.
And it scares the hell out of me, understandably. And so I bring the police by, and I file a report. And then later that night, as soon as the police leave, the person that had leaked this log saying he was on his way to my house to shoot me sends me this crazed, disturbing video.
"I fucking rolled on the ice, fucking rolled down here, and now look at this piece of shit."
Wu obtained a restraining order. She then began tracking and documenting some of her other tormentors. She offered her research to the FBI.
And their response was, we are tasked with terrorism. We are working on these things. It just isn't the biggest priority for us. I think that needs to change.
Wu has actually been an online shamer herself. She used to think it was a good thing, if the cause was righteous. But she's had time to reflect on that.
Justice hotly delivered, is not justice. I often feel like the culture we're living in is like when they would throw criminals in the Coliseum and have them fight lions. And I think when it becomes sport, when it becomes entertainment, when you see the person as destroying them as fun, I think that's when you kind of get the coarsening of the dialogue that you're having.
Is suicide.
Yeah.
In Europe, governments are now trying to pass laws protecting people from shaming. John Ronson hopes books like his may help shame the shamers into submission.
I mean, I might be proven badly wrong, but I sort of believe that. I kind of think, it's hard to eat the steak when you've been to the slaughterhouse.
I think that's a little utopian. I don't expect... I can't change the world. I have to be realistic about this.
Human nature being what it is.
Human nature isn't going to change.
The scary thing about the internet, though, is that it allows human nature to do as it likes. Shamers abide by no due process. No government oversees them. No libel law extends worldwide. What has taken form is the biggest kangaroo court in human history. Capricious, vicious, stupid, out of control, and all with effective impunity. For The National, I'm Neil MacDonald.